Continuing on with the engine, the small bush is now put in as a reverse of the way it came out really. You use the socket to pull it into, and in this case the bolt with the washer to pull against it. Does that make sense? Anyway, as you can see in the photo, in the film, it's a straightforward case of tightening up the bolt and pulling the little bush into position. With the bush equally spaced in the eye, I stuffed the crankcase with a cloth to stop shavings falling down into the crankcases when I drilled the two oil holes in the top of the bush. With that job done, I can now put on the piston. Here you can see me trying to distinguish which is the front. Usually on original pistons they're marked with an arrow, but this is a +40. Lucky enough it had an arrow, but they don't always. So keep it in mind, especially on a two-stroke where it's important that the ring pegs are in the right position for the bore, not to interfere with the transfer ports or the exhaust port. I'm just warming up the piston here so that I can push the gudgeon pin easier. It's a bit hot to handle, but if you're quick enough you don't get burnt too much. With that tapped into place, you replace the circlips that hold the gudgeon pin in position. It's not a good idea to use the old ones, especially as the new ones are so cheap, and they came from the same supplier as the new piston rings, so you know, no need to cut a corner really. And there's the second circlip going into position. I've only just noticed watching the video here that I didn't stuff a rag into the crankcases. Not a good idea. It's always good to stuff the crankcase with a rag while you're putting the circlips in case you drop one. Lucky enough I didn't, but you know, it could have happened. These are the new piston rings. I'm trying them on the piston first, just to make sure that they're the right ones and that they fit the grooves and everything looks okay, before I start putting them in the barrel and checking the ring gap. Here you can see me honing the barrel. I don't think it had done many miles before the big end blew and it was stored for the last 40 odd years. The barrel cleaned up really well, so it was more to let the rings bed in than to take any marks or anything out of it. Sometimes it's amazing how these bikes can sit up for so long and still come out unscathed. Unfortunately, I didn't film myself putting the rings in and gapping them, or putting them on the piston and slipping the barrel over. I don't know what happened, whether I left the camera off or I turned it off by mistake, but I'm afraid I lost that footage. So here you can see the barrel in position and me cleaning up the cylinder head, ready to put the gasket on and replace. Sorry about that. Lucky enough, everything went together nicely. So gasket in place, cylinder head on, and tighten down the head to 16 foot-pounds torque. I think it was, or was it 18? No, 16. Just using a screwdriver to get the nuts started. They're recessed into the fins, and with my big lumpy fingers sometimes they can be a bit fiddly. Then a quick wipe down just to get rid of my grubby fingerprints from the cases. If you stay on top of it, it's a lot easier to clean up later. And this is why I love doing the little bikes so much. As much as I like the big bikes, when it comes to putting the engines in, you can't beat the little ones. You simply get the place ready and lift it in. Not too many worries about damaging the frame, because there's usually loads of room around them. And again, not heavy, relatively speaking. In this case I got the rear in first and then dropped the front down. I don't know if that's correct, but it worked for me. So as you can see here, it was very little fiddling, it just all plopped into place. I'm just checking here that the front mounting bracket hasn't closed up due to paint thickness. Happy enough, I slipped the back in and then wiggled the front down until it was in alignment with the hole. All that's left now is to put the bolts in place and tighten them up. With the engine in place, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.